I think that I, a guitarist, will watch some guitar-related videos on YouTube in regards to my favorite subject, guitars, for I am a guitarist.
This video is really perplexing.
The infamous video put up by Gibson and Mark Agnesi.
Why make good guitars? Why treat our workers well? All that stuff. If we could just...
They actually uploaded a video where they were talking about or issuing an open threat to...
Only a Gibson is good.
What? The internet is mad about something? That never happens. A few weeks ago, a very angry Mark Agnesi released, and then subsequently removed, but we'll get to that, a video on YouTube titled Play Authentic, where Gibson makes some statements about the guitars they've manufactured throughout the years, making the point that they have been innovating and forming guitar music throughout the years. It takes a fairly interesting turn when Mark outright threatens other guitar manufacturers. You know what, let's just watch the video.
Hey everybody, Mark Agnesi here for Gibson Guitars. And today, I want to take a few minutes to talk to you about originality and what it means to play authentic.
It started off so well. It looks nice, the guitars, it looks professional.
You know, for 125 years now, Gibson's been shaping sound across generations, genres of music, and genders.
So first off, I do want to acknowledge that Gibson Guitars has been a big part of guitar history for decades. But I find it strange that he includes genders in this list. It almost feels like he's trying to gain inclusivity points. A minor point, many guitarists who helped shape music history didn't use Gibson guitars, almost like they're not the only guitar manufacturer who make good guitars. I'm probably nitpicking. No, it's not important. It's not important.
All the way back to the turn of the century with Orville Gibson's innovations in mandolin building, through the 1920s with Lloyd Lohr's perfection of arch-topped instruments, to our semi-hollow body and solid body instruments of the late 1950s and early 1960s, which helped define the sound of rock and roll. Gibson's been innovating the whole time.
Yeah, we've been innovating the whole time by releasing the same guitars all subsequent years at increasingly obscene price points while letting basic quality control go down the drain.
And we want to talk to you today about some of those innovations. First, the one I got in my hands, the big daddy of them all, the Les Paul. This single cutaway carved maple top design originally came out in 1952. In 1960, the introduction of the Gibson SG, the ES 335, 345, and 355 that graced so many albums of the 50s and 60s. And not just our body shapes, but things like the shape of the headstock, that open book design or mustache kind of design.
To the viewer, you'll notice he doesn't mention any innovations since the 1970s, for they have none worth mentioning.
All of those innovations and design elements are trademarks of Gibson. Why does this matter? Well, for a few reasons. People ask us a lot about forgeries and counterfeit guitars, you know, often of lower craftsmanship coming in from overseas.
Okay, so here he brings up forgeries and the idea of counterfeit Gibsons. There are manufacturers that slap the Gibson logo onto an inferior, badly produced instrument and try and sell it under the false pretense of being the genuine article. That's completely illegal. Sue those people, that is completely within your rights. This, though, is not what they're doing, and this is not what he's referring to. He makes the statement that
any copy of any one of those designs that we've named is, in fact, by definition, a counterfeit Gibson guitar.
Now this insinuates that companies like PRS, Dean, and ESP Guitars are trying to trick consumers by pretending to sell Gibson guitars. The courts have repeatedly ruled that although the headstocks can be copyrighted as a part of your brand, the body shape of a guitar cannot, as these have practical reasons for being the way they are. Why is this important? Because he goes on to threaten rival guitar manufacturers.
What that means for a couple different people. To the manufacturers out there, we want you to know that you've been warned. We're looking out, and we're here to protect our iconic legacy and the designs that we've created over generations.
Let me ask you this. What legacy exists that Gibson themselves have not sullied? Do you know why people buy other brands' guitars? Because your prices kept going up and your quality kept going down. I don't have time to go into the numerous controversies, including broken headstocks and high price point guitars shipping with bad and dodgy craftsmanship. People haven't bought a competing guitar company's product because they were looking to buy a Gibson and accidentally bought a Dean or an Ibanez, because none of these companies are pretending to make your product. People are buying other brands for better products. This isn't new, but it's related. It's been brought up that Gibson has sued Dean guitars over the V-shape and the Explorer body shape guitars. But importantly, not only because of copyright infringement, but copyright counterfeit. Again, the idea that Dean is selling these guitars under the false pretense of being Gibson products. The teeny tiny problem is that Dean has been selling these guitars since the 1970s. As I mentioned, Gibson has sued other companies about this before, so suing Dean 4 decades later is a little weird. Especially since, to my knowledge, body shapes of guitars do not fall under copyright. Again, the statement that Mark is making on behalf of Gibson is that the use of any of the above mentioned characteristics being used in guitar manufacturing constitutes counterfeit. Now here's where it gets a little weird.
To all the people in the film and television and commercial industry, reach out to us. We want to work with you. Stop taping over the logos on the headstocks. By the way, that's not enough to get out of a trademark infringement anyway.
People don't tape over logos in the fear that they'll be sued or because it would be illegal, but because they aren't affiliated with your brand. Brands pay creators to be featured in film, television, advertisement, and music videos, not the other way around. This is insinuating that the use of a Gibson instrument within media would be copyright infringement. This to me shows an arrogance and a sad misunderstanding of the relationship between guitar company and consumer.
Contact us. We want to work with you. We want to be partners with you. We want to help bring authenticity to your projects.
I'm sorry to say this, but a little boy once wanted nothing more than a Gibson Les Paul because Slash from Guns N' Roses played one. He didn't like rock and roll because they use a specific brand of guitars, especially since that brand has shown little to no respect for its clientele, its endorsees, and the quality of their products. The idea that your brand is what gave authenticity to the art created by those who used your products is like the tool maker trying to claim credit for the carpenter's work.
And this isn't about us trying to be bullies or trying to stifle the boutique marketplace.
Dovidas mentioned in his video that when you implicitly mention something isn't about a specific thing, unprompted, by the way, it kind of makes it look like that's exactly what this is about.
This is about protecting our legacy. 125 years of innovation and relevance in music. It's worth protecting, and it's our job, and we will continue to fight to protect our intellectual property. And to all the players out there, what does this mean? Well, it goes back to what we started talking about, being original and playing authentic. Gibson's been investing money in our factories, in our team of people working, in the content that we're creating to make the Gibson experience the best and make the best guitars we've made in 125 years.
The best guitars that we've made in 125 years, provably false. And is the insinuation that companies like PRS and Chapman Guitars do not invest the time to make their instruments and their factories and their companies great? Is the insinuation that other guitar companies don't make authentic guitars? And by extension, guitarists who use those instruments aren't making authentic music?
And it's our goal that for the next 125 years coming, that will be the most relevant, the most loved, and most played guitar brand in the world.
The sad thing is I feel like these statements are sincere, but have nothing to back them up. In the last few years, Gibson has lost so much traction with consumers that they've almost gone bankrupt more than once.
Be original, play authentic, and remember, only a Gibson is good enough.
Because only a Gibson gives you the authentic Gibson experience. I completely agree. But I can personally say it's an experience I find provably inferior to an experience with any good rival guitar company's products. And that's no one's fault but your own. Thanks for sitting through this. I don't usually do news topics like this, but I found this incredibly interesting. Gibson did remove the video, but obviously people have re-uploaded it. The internet never forgets. So I'll leave a link in the description to the full video if you want to go watch it. Again, the fact that they deleted it just because a couple of people made YouTube videos, I found a bit odd. There's a bunch of stuff I found while I was researching this video that I didn't even mention. For example, Gibson made a Strat-like guitar for a Jimi Hendrix series they did at some point. So this whole suing people over guitar shapes thing is a little hypocritical. I'm not a hater. I will admit that I don't particularly like Gibson guitars. I don't have anything against Gibson as a company. I'm a fan of any well-made, good instrument. The point I'm trying to make is stop supporting Gibson until they fix some of the problems with the company. People love Gibson guitars religiously, even if they've never picked one up and compared it to its competition. I'm gonna leave links in the description to a couple of guitar companies I think you should check out if you have that kind of money to spend on a good boutique instrument and actually want to get your money's worth. Share this with anyone who owns a Gibson or blindly loves the company, I want to start a conversation, but people need to know the anti-consumer practices this company has habitually shown. What are your thoughts on this? Is it good that they deleted the video, or has that made it worse? I wouldn't have made the video if they didn't. If you want to yell at me in the comments. Okay, bye.
Give us some money! What kind of a cokehead relative? You spent it already!